Good morning, everybody. I was talking with Susie, so I decided to mute so you didn't have to listen to the conversation. Good morning, everybody. I was talking with Susie. Oh,
Morning.
Right. Okay. Good morning
Good morning.
and Merry Christmas to you all. Off the bat, we will not be meeting next week, as I'm sure that comes as a big surprise to all of you. I mean, you can jump on here, but I won't be. So I'm going to have to leave a few minutes early. They have rescheduled, and rescheduled again my physical therapy for today. It was originally at 3 o'clock, and then it got 3:30. Then it got moved to 1, and then it got moved to noon. And so I just quickly ran home, changed clothes, and came back.
somebody must be trying to get out early today.
Maybe so. And if Shannon wants to get out early, great.
Maybe you don't need to go to therapy if you ran home.
Well, no, I really do now because it hurts.
You were moving really well Sunday.
Well, I am. It's coming along nicely. It is. I'm real pleased with it. The doctor was very pleased with it when I saw him last week. He said that I was much farther along than most people are 2 weeks out. And so,
Yeah, well, you were walking really well.
the only times I could tell is when I was going up the stairs, and I would forget, and I would lead with my left foot.
Yeah.
That at those times you might have seen me wince once or twice.
Yeah.
Oh. And now we're all here. Everyone has arrived. If in fact you were looking for last week's Bible study, all of you texted me at some point. Most of you texted me Tuesday morning. Diane texted me, I think Sunday, that said you were not going to be there. And so it was funny. It all came in at once. And so my mother and I had a lovely visit last Tuesday. And so, but we chose not to record it. And, because we really did not discuss anything pertaining to Proverbs. So let's begin with prayer. God, we give you thanks for today, for this time together, for the birth of your son. We ask that the teachings of Proverbs may teach us on this day and every day. In Jesus' name, amen.
Yeah.
So let's jump right in. Well, before we jump right in, this will be a new experience in teaching for me, because this is different. Looking at the Proverbs, they're not always lumped together. They kind of are, but it's loosely. And so a lot of what we're going to be doing is dependent on you and your willingness to talk and discuss and say what you think this means and how we can apply it. Because quite honestly, that's what Proverbs are supposed to be and supposed to do. With the 375 Proverbs left, I think that was the number, that are in here. Let me make sure of that as soon as this decides to wake up. Yes, 375 distinct Proverbs. and sometimes they consist of more than one verse, but most of the time they are contained in of themselves in a single verse. And so if you recall, usually I had like the headings of, okay, we're going to read these. At least this week it's not there, although I have found somewhat of a grouping. So I'll probably stop after so many verses and then we'll discuss those collectively, at least to some extent. But most of it will be us talking about, okay, what does this one mean? How does this apply? So let's get started. From the beginning. The Proverbs of Solomon. A wise child makes a glad father, but a foolish child is his mother's grief. Let's stop right there. So there's two important things there. What's the first one? Do you think?
Well,
I see we
Being
got a
wise
wise
and being
child.
foolish.
Well, the first important thing is the Proverbs of Solomon.
Oh,
I mean, have you ever heard who wrote Proverbs? It's always been understood that Solomon did. Well, here's why it said so. And we don't know that he wrote Proverbs, but these are his wise teachings, or at least that's how they were taught in antiquity.
yeah, it may be that Solomon told somebody and that person wrote it.
mm-hmm.
More than likely. I'm not sure that he wrote the first part.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that King Solomon would have time to teach other people. You know, I don't see him in Hebrew school. So the second part, then let's get to the second part of this.
I think it's interesting that a wise child makes the father glad. Doesn't say anything about a mother. But then when it's a foolish child, it's the mother's grief and doesn't say anything about the daddy.
And that is interesting.
Yeah, I thought that should be parents instead of separating them out. Both parents.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and Pastor Stephen, maybe you probably know better than I, but in that culture, was the mother probably was more responsible maybe for teaching?
Not teaching.
Well, I mean, for teaching them how to be wise and foolish, for guiding the child, possibly.
Yes and no. Mothers would not have been educated.
Oh, okay.
So they would not have been able to pass that knowledge along.
Yeah.
However, mothers were and are the more nurturing. And in that culture, the father would have been the one that would take pride.
Right.
And so if the foolishness would grieve the mother, it would worry her
Right.
a lot more, probably. But in today's culture, it would be parents, I think.
Right. It would.
Mm-hmm.
It would. And I don't think that I'm not sure that it's important to read too much into that, because it's also, the Proverbs are also written somewhat poetically. And so, I think that and you don't want to grieve your mama. You want to make your father proud and not grieve your mother. I mean, and that still kind of is consistent today.
Yeah.
It's the relationships that many people have with their parents is, they want to make their father proud. And they don't want to make their mother sad. Right. Well, let's move on to the next one. We're going to go 2 to 5 now. And I hit the wrong button. Treasures gained by wickedness do not profit, but righteousness delivers from death. The Lord does not let the righteous go hungry, but he thwarts the craving of the wicked. A slack hand causes poverty, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. A child who gathers in summer is prudent, but a child who sleeps in harvest brings shame. Sleeps in harvest brings shame. Read through those again. So what do you think these have in common?
Hmm.
They all seem like goodness or hard work or belief in God is rewarded.
Yep. Yeah. What else?
You need to work, not be lazy.
Yep, that's kind of connected too. All of these they're about wealth, aren't they? What brings it and what brings, I guess, poverty. Now, it's interesting the way these are laid out. It goes, let me change my page here. It goes negative, positive, positive, negative, negative, positive, positive, negative. So it sort of flows that way. Like it starts off, treasures gained by wickedness do no profit. So first of all, and that's interesting. I mean, because it's sort of a contradiction, isn't it? Treasures don't profit. So I guess in the long run, they cost.
Well, because of how you got them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so that's a negative. And then, but righteousness delivers from death. Okay. And then the Lord does not let the righteous go hungry. See, it sticks with righteous and it stays positive, but thwarts the cravings of the wicked. So, God will take care of you. Now, we've talked in here some about the prosperity gospel, and that's not generally how we ascribe to scripture. However, understand that in those days, they believed that if you were wealthy, God had blessed you, and if you were poor, God had cursed you. And in Proverbs, though, it also says, but that's also got something to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you live righteously, you will be rewarded for it. And if you live badly, you will be cursed for it. But some of the rewards are earned, right? I mean, God doesn't just give away trophies to everybody, so to speak, according to Proverbs. So, it says a slack hand causes poverty. Would we agree with that? I mean, if you're lazy, there's a good chance, unless you have other things going for you, you're not going to be rolling in money. Well, and maybe unless you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. But the diligent makes rich. People who work hard. I mean, now, of course, we all know hard workers that aren't loaded. I mean, they're out there, just drive by a farm. Those people work hard. They're not loaded, but do they want for anything? I mean, I mean, and then it says a child who gathers in the summer is prudent, but a child who sleeps in the harvest brings shame. So again, it goes to the same thing, right? Hard work is righteous and brings wealth. And being lazy is wicked and brings poverty. Now, this does cause some issues in our modern culture because it makes it sound like poor people are wicked or that they brought it on themselves. And or that they're all lazy, and that's not necessarily the case. But if you're teaching young Jewish boys, you want to teach them that there is benefit to hard work and there is punishment for being lazy.
Yeah, and they depended on each other because of the community.
Yeah.
And so, and the version that am using with verse 5 says, "He who gathers crops in summer is a wise son, but he who sleeps during harvest is a disgraceful son," which means he's an embarrassment to his father.
Yeah. Which also goes back to verse 1, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
So, all right, let's keep moving. On to verse 6.
Can you hear it now? I can't hear it.
Blessings are on the head of the righteous, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. The memory of the righteous is a blessing, but the name of the wicked will rot. The wise of heart will heed commandments, but a babbling fool will come to ruin. Whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but whoever follows perverse ways will be found out. Whoever winks the eye causes trouble, but the one who rebukes boldly makes peace.
This here is dead.
The mouth of the righteous is a fountain of life, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. So let's read through those again. Well, you know what? Let's not, because there's so many of these. Are y'all okay with not reading back through them?
Yes.
So what are these about?
Sounds a lot about what you're saying on your mouth.
Yeah. Your mouth is impossible. Is important.
Your mouth can build up, but your mouth can cut down.
Yep. I like verse 10. Whoever winks the eye causes trouble. I mean that
Ever get that wink, you might know you're in trouble.
yeah.
Or somebody.
Well, for one, you could be winking at a woman, or two, it's like, hey, buddy, you know. Have any of y'all ever seen the movie Tombstone?
I have, but it's been a while.
It's probably the most historically accurate one of Wyatt Earp.
Mhm.
And I'm not big on Westerns, but Tombstone is an incredible movie. But at the OK Corral, there's a standoff between the Cowboys, who was like the gang that Wyatt Earp was against, and Wyatt Earp and like his deputies. And Doc Holliday winks at one of them, and that sort of starts the gunfight. At least in the movie. I don't know if that's what happened in real life, but that's how it happened in the movie. And if you know anything about Doc Holliday, that was Doc Holliday. I mean, you know, he was always ready for a fight. He was always ready to drink, womanize, you name it. I mean, he just happened to be friends with the good people, but he wasn't always righteous. But at any rate, yeah, I mean, the wise of heart will heed commandments, but the babbling fool will come to ruin. You know, if you keep your head down and do what you're supposed to do instead of just talk.
And don't some people use winking when they're really telling something that's not true?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's, yeah, I mean, that's another way, like, you know, to let other people know that you're lying to somebody.
Right. A signal.
Yeah. Well, and that, I mean, that you're picking, kind of.
Yeah, right. Yes. What you're saying is not exactly the truth.
It is interesting that the mouth of the righteous is a fountain of life, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. That same phrase is used twice. You know, it's used in verse 6 and in verse 11. So that's probably the sort of the bookends of this of these verses, because it says it at the beginning and at the end, that the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. What do you think that means? You're muted. Mama, you're muted.
Maybe it's sort of like when people say bless your heart and they're actually being ugly to somebody. Maybe that's what that means, that the mouth of the wicked conceals violence, in that he's trying to incite violence with what he says, but it's sort of undercover, and the person that's hearing it will be incited to violence, but the people around that it's not aimed at wouldn't realize that he was inciting the violence.
That's a possibility. Hadn't thought of that one. I thought it more like doublespeak, like almost like an abusive husband kind of thing. Maybe where they'll sweet talk and then at the one hand and then backhand their wife on the other.
Saying one thing but meaning something else.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it can mean all of those things. but I think that we get the point, right?
Right.
I want to, this next one, we're just going to just do one because this is a good one. Hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all offenses. That's a great proverb. What does it mean?
To me, it means that people that hate, because they hate, they can't stand peace. So they keep doing things. In Greensboro over the weekend, anti-Semitic brochures were left on the driveway of many, many people, not just Jewish people. And for those of you in Lexington, we have a big Jewish community. Blaming them for COVID and one other thing that I remember. It was
Blaming Jews for COVID?
Yep, sounded good to them.
Oh, well,
But
yeah.
anyway,
'Cause
but that's, that kind of hate stirs up strife. In other words, by publishing it, they're trying to get people to follow their way and hate the Jews.
well, I mean, Hitler got a bunch of people to hate Jews, but he was a little smarter than blaming them for a worldwide pandemic. Wow. I mean,
Yeah, that was.
I hope that these people's faces were all over everything, because if they're anything like our neighborhoods, we've all got these Ring doorbells and stuff, and we can know exactly who delivered these hate pamphlets.
It was delivered at the end of the driveway with the newspapers.
Oh,
So I don't know that our Ring doorbell wouldn't pick up the end of our driveway. But like I said, it wasn't delivered to us. I didn't think to ask John, but his neighborhood was one that was mentioned where they were being delivered or were delivered.
gracious. Well, love covers a multitude of offense. What does it say? All offenses. That's also, I actually just looked it up in 1 Peter, where it says love covers a multitude of sins. It's the same kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't just work on the massive level, it works in our relationships.
Yeah.
If you, and also, all right, if you hate someone, or, I mean, or even if you just don't like someone, if they do anything, it ticks you off.
That's what's most important, that you're trying to work from that love point of view, not that hate or that discontent.
Yeah. Because, look, one person can do one thing and another person can do the same thing, and your reaction will be very different depending on whether it's love or hate between you and that person. Deetta's the third person that's dropped today. Maybe it is that Zoom is running slowly, because Margaret and Steve dropped out early on, and then Mom dropped out, and Deetta just dropped out.
Well, and my comment about talking to Susan did not actually happen when I said it. It was like 30 seconds later when all of a sudden I heard.
No. What you heard was on my end, because I started the live stream.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, because as soon as I started, it comes like a window pops up like from my browser, and it starts playing it. And so I have to stop it from, otherwise we'll just hear our entire lesson 30 seconds after we say it. We'll just-
Get us back.
Yep, welcome back. Although she's either really still or frozen again.
I think she's frozen.
She looks very contemplative.
Yeah.
So let's move on. On the lips of one who has understanding, wisdom is found, but a rod is for the back of one who lacks sense. The wise lay up knowledge, but the babbling of a fool brings ruin near. The wealth of the rich is their fortress. The poverty of the poor is their ruin. The wage of the righteous leads to life, the gain of the wicked to sin. Whoever heeds instruction is on the path to life, but one who rejects a rebuke goes astray. Let's stop there and talk about those. So, on the lips of one who has understanding, wisdom is found, but a rod is for the back of one who lacks sense. So what do you hear in that one?
You're going to get punished if you lack sense.
Yeah. Trust me on that one. I can verify that many times over. I asked the man sitting next to that lady down there. The wise lay up knowledge, but the babbling of a fool brings ruin near. That's the second time we've heard that. That last phrase. But again, the babbling of a fool brings ruin near. But that wasn't exactly what it said before, was it? Let's see. But a babbling fool will come to ruin. The babbling of a fool will bring ruin near. So maybe the first one is about if you're a babbling fool, and the second one is listening to a babbling fool. Maybe. Does it make sense to y'all?
Mm-hmm.
Whoever heeds instruction is on the path to life. Oh, wait, no. The wealth of the rich is their fortress. The poverty of the poor is their ruin. Now, that's an interesting phrase. And I'm not sure that I hear it the same way it was meant. The wealth of the wealth of the rich is their fortress, their protection, their stronghold, their home. But the poverty of the poor is their ruin. Have any of y'all heard about the studies that have been done on poverty and education?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And how children of poverty don't learn as well. Now, I mean, there could be many different parts to that. I mean, it may have, some of it I'm sure has to do with their poverty. Some of it may have to do with their genetics, which might have brought some of the poverty on. Right? I mean, because generally, I think IQ can be passed down. A lot of times you get smart kids from smart parents. Maybe that's the way they're raised, though. Maybe that's because they have books in their house. You know,
Stephen, I think having the books in the house, parents that expose them to ideas raises the IQ of a lot of children. I don't think that, I think poverty can decrease IQ because the children aren't exposed. I mean, I bet everybody that's here, their children could count to 10 early. They had stories read to them. Their vocabulary, they knew words that a lot of the other kids didn't know because they'd heard it. So I'm not sure that poverty, I think poverty can reduce IQ while wealth sometimes enhances it. Maybe that's what I mean.
Yes. Well, I mean, it puts people behind the 8 ball. Not everybody is smart and not everybody is dumb. Not everybody who is wealthy is smart. Not everybody who is poor is dumb. But the less intelligent of the rich, their lack of intelligence is brought higher. I guess, like, they're made more intelligent because of their opportunity. Whereas the intelligent of those in poverty, their intelligence may be brought down because of lack of opportunity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I think the statement, the poverty of the poor is their ruin, very much so. Neighborhoods filled with drugs and violence, and I mean, because they're just trying to get out or help or something. And so, like I said, I'm not sure that that's how it's meant in these Proverbs, based on the other. Wealth is good and poverty is bad, and wealth is for the wise and poverty is for the foolish. But as I read this, I think that honestly, it makes more sense the other way.
And Stephen, one of the ways that I read the wealth of the rich is their fortress is people who have money hiding behind it to hide their sins or their unlawful practices. In other words, it's not a good fortress. It's a fortress that allows evil.
Well, and Deetta just texted me also dealing with nutrition and physical development and poverty. Yes.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's all of those things. Whoever heeds instruction is on the path to life, but one who rejects a rebuke goes astray. This is important because so many people nowadays, millennials, have y'all all come across millennials at some point? They're not real big on being rebuked. They're not big on being corrected. According to, I mean, that's not all of them across the board, but stereotypically, like, employers are having problems with some of these people because how dare you criticize me? And the problem is that no one is perfect and everybody needs to be corrected from time to time. That's how we get better. But when we jump to our defenses about what we've done wrong, and when we don't listen, that creates big issues, does it not? Let's see, where did we stop? I think that. Yeah, okay, here we go. Share. Lying lips conceal hatred, and whoever utters slander is a fool. When words are many, transgression is not lacking, but the prudent are restrained in speech. The tongue of the righteous is choice silver. The mind of the wicked is little worth. The lips of the righteous feed many, but fools die for lack of sense. The blessing of the Lord makes rich, and he adds no sorrow with it. We'll stop there. Now, 18 is different than the rest because lying lips conceal hatred, and whoever utters slander is a fool. That's the first one that has not gone the positive negative. That's negative, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like 19, but well, it is what it is, and I would agree with it. When words are many, transgression is not lacking, but the prudent are restrained in speech. I've always been the chattier type, get paid to speak, and I've always envied those people that sit quietly, and when they say something, it's wise. You know, that I'll say 100 things and hopefully one of them will be a pearl of wisdom. But people have to be pretty sharp to actually catch that one pearl in the midst of all the swine. But you know, those people that don't talk a lot, but when they do, it's just amazing. I am so envious of those people. I wish I could do that. But it goes on. The tongue of the righteous is choice silver. The mind of the wicked is of little worth. And so it is interesting, though. I mean, it plays on the wicked being foolish and the wise being smart.
Yeah. Well, when I read that, I think of the expression, think before you speak.
Yeah, I've tried that a few times.
Because I don't think it's necessarily talking about the volume of the words, but thinking, you know, if holding your tongue instead of just saying the first thing that pops into your brain, to be a little reflective before you speak.
Yeah, never been one of my gifts. The lips of the righteous feed many. Now that's interesting too. Not just feeds himself now, because a lot of what we've talked about is how a person like being wise will help him or herself. Here it's they help a lot of people. And so, you know, that's what happens. And then on the lips of one who has understanding, wisdom is found. Oh, I totally went backwards. I'm sorry. The blessing of the Lord makes rich, and he adds no sorrow with it. And see, there it's positive. So I think that this section possibly might start negative and end positive. But again, that's trying to find any kind of sense of order in something that may not be intended to have any sense of order. But let's move on. Doing wrong is like sport to a fool, but wise conduct is pleasure to a person of understanding. What the wicked dread will come upon them, but the desire of the righteous will be granted. When the tempest passes, the wicked are no more, but the righteous are established forever. Like vinegar to the teeth and smoke to the eyes, so are the lazy to their employers. The fear of the Lord prolongs life, but the years of the wicked will be short. So let's talk about those. Doing wrong is like sport to a fool, but wise conduct is pleasure to a person of understanding. So each person has fun. Doing wrong is sport to a fool. They have fun being idiots, doing bad things, and it doesn't end well, but it's fun for them when they're doing it. But doing good is pleasure for the righteous. And that's true. Have you ever done a mission trip or done something kind for someone? There's pleasure in that, right? What the wicked will come, dread will come upon them. But now you see the word but. Now I can't be sure about this, but because this is Hebrew and I don't know Hebrew as well as Greek, but in the Greek language, they have a conjunction day, delta, eta, de, and it means but it also means and. It's a conjunction that can mean either or. They also have one that's very definite. And I kind of wonder about this one because it almost sounds like what the wicked dread will come upon them and the desire of the righteous will be granted, instead of, because that seems like a yes, that both of these are true, not one or the other. The tempest passes, the wicked are when the tempest passes, the wicked are no more, but the righteous are established forever. I guess that would be like death. People don't remember a fool, but the wise are established. It's passed on. Wisdom is passed down. And like vinegar to teeth and smoke to eyes, so are the lazy to their employers. What a great proverb. If I owned a business, I would hang that proverb up. I mean, and I know Steve and Margaret did own a business. I bet y'all wish y'all had hung that up in your offices at some point. Because, yeah, I mean, that is like the greatest, like the greatest. I don't understand the vinegar to the teeth. I guess it burns. Especially if you don't take care of your teeth, which I'm sure they didn't back then.
It corrodes.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to remember. I mean, I've seen a lot of demonstrations where, like teeth are put in Coca-Cola and you see the long-term effects over time. And it might be that vinegar would do the same thing to the enamel.
But would they know that? That's one of the cool things, though, about the Bible is when they pull out scientific facts that they shouldn't know.
They probably would know that. I imagine they used vinegar.
Right, because, they had the wine, and so I would think they would know that from experience.
I guess so, yeah. But that is so funny, though. I mean, it's when words are many, transgression is not lacking, but the prudent are restrained. And I went back. The fear of the Lord prolongs life, but the years of the wicked will be short. Now, we've heard that before, or at least something to that effect, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then let's see. I think we might be able to. No, I don't think so. We're going to have to stop there. Well, I can. All right, we'll do it quickly. we'll finish this up. All right, we just read that one. The hope of the righteous ends in gladness, but the expectation of the wicked comes to nothing. The way of the Lord is a stronghold for the upright, but destruction for evildoers. The righteous will never be removed, but the wicked will not remain in the land. The mouth of the righteous brings forth wisdom, but the perverse tongue will be cut off. The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable, but the mouth of the wicked, what is perverse. I will leave that to you to ponder, because I have to get to physical therapy. And which, again, for those of you who missed that earlier, explains why I'm so dressed up for work today. I was earlier and then had to change. But y'all take care. I will see many of you over the weekend. I'm assuming once, twice, or 3 times. And the other one I will see next week. So bye, y'all.
Just a second. I had to get away from, I was attending a Zoom meeting. Now I've got it so that I can